Hello and welcome to Casey's Corner. My name is Casey Kendall. This is brought to you today by Prosperity North Advisors. We're located in Gilbert, Arizona, coming at you from the 1010 studios. Joining me today, Charity Tovar from Charity's Plumbing Solutions. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Casey.
And so before we get started, I want to read your shirt here. You need a plumber? I know a gal. That's awesome. I do know a gal, and her name is Charity. Thank you for being here. Let's jump right in. Tell me, we think about traditional roles, and plumber is probably not a feminine role.
Not at all. So a little under 2 years ago, I was in a crossroads with my career, and I said, let me see what's going on in the trade industry. My husband was coming home. He was so frustrated. He's a plumber. He was coming home so frustrated with the industry. And he goes, what's going out there is just unethical standards of sales. And I was like, since when did plumbing turn into sales? And so as we were talking about it more and more, I decided one day, I said, you know what? I'm going to start a plumbing company. I'm going to start a plumbing company based off of what is missing in this industry. Wow. Trust is missing in this industry. Feminine presence is missing in this industry. I myself was a single mom, single woman homeowner for about 10 years. Wow. And as I was looking into the analytics and the data on women in trade, I realized that this multi-billion-dollar company was being represented by less than 5% at the time of women who either owned or even worked in the trade. But also we were looking at the data of how many women own homes. And that struck to me a chord because I was a single mom homeowner for a long time. And Lending Tree came out with a study recently that said that there's 2.7 million more single women homeowners in the United States over single men. Well, that doesn't include widowed women who are now living alone in their home. And so I really decided that if we were going to launch this business, we were going to launch it in a different way. We were going to help women homeowners, as well as all homeowners, but especially give women homeowners an option who comes into their home, which has been greatly accepted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just the honesty factor alone, put gender aside. And I've seen that in I think the auto world. You'll see a lot of that in a non-gender traditional type of role and what that looks like. So you and your husband start Charity's Plumbing Solutions. Tell us a little bit about, every company says, oh, we're different, or we're,
right,
beyond this.
We're the honest, integrity,
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. But sometimes at the end of the day, what really counts is who's showing you up or who's showing up. And so talk to me a little bit about the way that you're structured, regulated. I know that a plumber needs a license to have a plumbing business, and your license. So tell us about what that process looks like. And I guess something random, like, are there continuing education for plumbers? Or is it pretty stagnant? Stays the same?
Well, you touched on a lot of different topics there. So let's start with one. So the Register of Contractors, ROC, there's only a couple of qualified participants or qualified parties who hold the license. So in a plumbing company that may have 70 technicians, or let's say even 20 technicians, there's only a couple people who hold the license, which means that everyone else who's out there representing the company as a plumber is working underneath the supervision of a license holder. Not every plumber for every company is holding a license for that company.
Wow.
And that is a misconception a lot of people see. Or that they have. I see it all over social media about, oh, somebody came out to my house and they're not even licensed. Well, actually, you need to understand the structure. They work for a licensed company under the supervision of a license holder. But homeowners need to be really more aware of this aspect. You have a licensed company who's coming in. You may like the technician, and this does happen, and it happens quite often even for us. That homeowner says, hey, can you do this as a side job? Well, your boss doesn't need to know. I'll give you cash, come back on the weekend. When you engage in that type of transaction, you have zero protection.
Sure.
That person coming out to your home wouldn't be coming out in a company branded vehicle, isn't going to provide you an invoice from the company. You're paying cash. So one, you most likely have a non-licensed person doing the work because they're not covered by the working underneath the license holder anymore.
I didn't even think about that. And so now, I guess as an insurance guy, I'm thinking, mostly because if they spring a leak and they're just a guy, then
that's all you got.
It's on you.
But that rolls into the piece that you asked about, continuing education.
Yeah.
Arizona does not require continuing education for plumbers.
Wow.
So where are they learning their skills? So there are some options. There are trade schools, but that is a certification. When a trade school certification is obtained, that is not a license. That certification is kind of like 101 basics, OSHA understanding, safety, how to do some of the practical applications. They still have no experience coming straight out of school. That is where they need to truly spend 2 to 3 years to understand the different scenarios, being in people's homes to actually gain the experience of what they're doing. So when you decide that you definitely are going to offer a job as a side job to a guy who doesn't have a license but works for another company, you also have to think, where have they been trained? And that is a difference with my company. Currently, all of my employees have 5 years or more experience. No one is a rookie. And if I do have a rookie, they're supervised by another experienced plumber with 5 years or more experience.
Wow. I didn't even think about the aspect of, I mean, you're really taking, you are self-insuring yourself. That sounds like an oxymoron. You're self-insuring if somebody's going to come in and do it as side work, so you might save 15 or 20%.
Maybe. But then remember that when you decide to go to the Register of Contractors and complain, you have no recourse.
Wow.
You made that choice.
Yeah.
So,
and that company is going to be like, nope, not us.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't go after the company because you shouldn't have an invoice under their name, and they shouldn't be showing up in a work vehicle. They shouldn't be if you decide to do a side job. Okay. So if you need to be careful, because this stuff does happen too, where where employees misrepresent themselves. They still show up in a truck.
They use tools.
They use the tools from the company, but you just paid them cash, thinking that you are getting the 2-year labor warranty. No, you're not.
Wow.
Okay. You really need to do your homework. You need to do your homework and find out what the company's continuing education policy is too. Like for me, this year, we took all of our guys to Texas and went through a 3-day water heater installation for our main manufacturer, Rude.
Really?
I don't know another company that has had all of their, including the owner. I went myself. We all went through training.
It seems like a water heater is a water heater is a water heater.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. Installation of a water heater can be very dangerous to you and your family if it's not done correctly. So first of all, gas. I think that's self-explanatory. If you have an installation of a water heater that's gas and it's not installed properly, what's going to happen? What could possibly happen?
Carbon monoxide and you die.
Yeah, but what else could happen if you have
Explosions.
exactly, because you have a live pilot underneath that water heater, and you have a gas leak a foot away,
and it fills the room, and now you have a bomb.
Exactly. So, how much is your family's health and safety worth when you decide who you're going to hire to install that? Now, on top of it, there's electrical. Electrical water heaters aren't plug and play, people. They're not. So they still need to be connected by more power than your toaster, and and someone who's qualified to do that needs to be put in place. A lot of people don't even read their manufacturer warranty. Part of the problem is companies don't leave the booklet for a manufacturer warranty, or the manufacturer manual, I should say.
Sure.
In there, they'll have the warranty, how to maintain it, everything else. It says over and over and over and over, this needs to be installed by a qualified technician.
Wow. I'm thinking about my water heater. It's in my garage, but I'm also thinking about, like, I always know when the beginning of summer is because my wife will be like, would you please go and turn the water heater down? Which requires me to grab a screwdriver, take off a face thing, and turn a knob. Which every time I open that thing up, I'm like, oh boy, I hope this is.
Yeah, you're like, I hope.
But with the amount of electricity and everything running through that. So I want to touch on water heaters. I do. And you brought a chart, and I want to go through the chart. So tell us, water heaters are such an important thing to you and your business that you went 2 states over to Texas to learn more about water heaters after already being licensed. What does that mean?
That means that my guys and myself understand the current standard of installation of the water heaters that are on the market today.
Okay.
So you can have a plumber who's like, I've been in the industry for 20 years.
Sure.
But they've never actually trained or took any type of continual learning class about the progression of what water heaters have. Now, keep in mind, there's not too many changes, but we are about to embark on a huge change in this industry over the next couple of years.
Ooh, tell me.
And because the Congress and the government is trying to go more green.
Sure.
So we are looking into hybrid electrical water heaters and hybrid gas water heaters. Let me tell you something, people, that is not a standard installation. We are going to have companies are going to have to invest in training their guys, because these when I was in Texas, that installation was the most intricate, and you have to understand kind of heat pump elements to a hybrid water heater. It's not, our standard atmospheric. Atmospheric will eventually go away, and we're going to these energy efficient ones. Energy efficient is more bells and whistles, more electronics, more stuff that can fail. And if you're working with a company that is like, I know what I'm doing, the most important day of a water heater is the day it's installed. Okay. I'm out in Levine. We service the greater Phoenix area, but I'm out in Levine, and Levine is thriving in new home builds. Okay. I mean, the most open permits in any city for new home builds is in Levine. Okay. We are now we are getting calls to execute warranties on 2-year-old water heaters.
Wow.
Why? Because the installations are bad, because people need to remember your home was built on the lowest bid possible. So if your home was built on the lowest bid possible, why are you going to find somebody who's not truly up to date and skilled to do your repair?
Yeah. I just kind of side note I live in a track house.
Okay.
And
that's a planned unit development for anybody.
Yes, exactly. And we have a running joke in my house where I have to remind my wife, this house was built by the cheapest labor with the cheapest materials at the worst time in the economy. And it got through inspection, and that's about it.
Oh, that is a whole nother conversation. Okay. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's true. I have owned 5 homes in the last 20 years. Okay. The home I live in right now was the worst built home. I closed with a now standard in the industry, guys. It wasn't 20 years ago. You could close on a home and everything was working. But now the standard is the builder, whatever isn't working, they're going to fix after the fact.
Yeah.
And so we are seeing some very shoddy work that is not getting repaired. I have a neighbor who had called me out of frustration and was like, my shower is leaking. Builder, whoever they're sending out to do the warranty work, have tried to replace it twice, torn out the drywall twice, put it back, and it's still leaking. The valves are still leaking. And I'm like, well, your brand new house is busted. Yeah. So if this is the standard of what we're doing, it's really important to actually get quality craftsmanship because it does last. It should be lasting you over a decade.
Yeah.
It really should. But
so that there's a total insurance thing on the contractors. You know, you've got huge, I'm not going to name any of them, but you've got huge contractors here in Arizona that will sub all that work out. And then when something goes wrong, like, oh, I've got a leaky valve. Oh, well, that's not us. That's XYZ Plumbing. And then there's class actions and everything else. And it's a nightmare. In fact, one of the things that an insurance company is looking at right now is the amount of new builds a contractor's doing. And they limit that like less than 10 a year.
Yeah. So even my insurance, I'm allowed, excuse me, on my current insurance policy, I can do what's called soil and tap out for a new build. I'm limited to 20.
Yep.
Once I go, if I were to, I'm not in that space. I don't do that work. But if I were to go over 20, I'd have to have a completely different commercial policy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite extensive.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. This is a beautiful brochure, and it's laying out, and I'm going to put up this so to take up the whole screen. But talk to me about the warranties of a water heater and why is that important to me beyond it just being a warranty? So I see a 6-year, I see a 12-year, 10-year. Walk me through what this is.
So when I got my ROC license, it like unlocked the truth of my industry. I went from being a consumer to a business owner. So this all started when my husband came home one day from a client's house, and the client wanted a 12-year rated, manufacturer rated water heater. And he was telling me the story, and I said, why didn't you just get him one? And he goes, because we don't have them. I'm like, all right, so your company doesn't hold them. Okay. Get my ROC license, call up my supplier, and I'm like, all right, this is what I want to do. I only carry Rude water heaters because of the quality of Rude. Okay. There's other options on the market, but Charity's Plumbing Solutions only carries Rude for your atmospheric and electric water heaters. We have different for tankless, but I called them up and I said, listen, I need to order this 8-year and this 12-year. And they said, we don't have those. I said, you don't keep those in stock? They're like, no. I said, why not? And they said, because you're going to learn, Charity, that this industry, everybody carries a 6-year and then gives a handshake company warranty for anything over 8, 10, 12 lifetime.
Wow.
So basically, you're getting a 6-year rated by the manufacturer, a 6-year rated water heater, and you're paying a lot more for something that you're truly not getting because they do exist. The water heaters are not built the same. They're built differently. And so I went to my supplier and I said, listen, we need to have a conversation. I am not going to offer my clientele anything that's not exactly what the manufacturer warranty is. And as I was going through the research, I said, okay, I can offer a great product at 6, 8, 10, 12 that are all rated to last that long and still have a a great option for the client without having to just cut corners, because truly that's what it is. I'm only going to give you I'm only going to stock, I'm a big company, I'm only going to stock a 6-year, and I'm going to charge people exuberant amount for this guarantee, and we'll just go from there. I mean, it's a cost basis, but I don't work like that. If something were to ever happen to my company, I would want my client to be able to go to the manufacturer and say, yes, it's 10 years on my 12-year water heater, and Rude go, yep, all right. You have we can exchange it out. We just need to have a plumbing company that can exchange it out for you, versus calling and they go, oh, you have a 12-year warranty? You don't have a 12-year warranty water heater. This water heater is only rated for 6. You need to call the company that sold you that because they hold that warranty. But this is what a homeowner doesn't know, what they don't know. And this is probably one of the things that people are most shocked about, is like, you're truly not buying for the amount of money you're paying. Mm-hmm. If you're paying for anything more than a 6-year water heater, you're paying a lot of money, and you're not even getting the benefit of a water heater that's rated for that.
Wow.
Which they're built differently, because I know.
So anything beyond 6 years is really only as good as the company who's installing it.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have several questions, like follow-up questions. So to me, warranty typically means I have to adhere to some very specific things in order for them to honor the warranty.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in buying quality and then taking care of it, and it will last you a long time. I mean, my dad was an engineer, and I'd say, Dad, can I borrow a pencil? And he would say, so-and-so gave me this pencil in 1968, and I appreciate it back. And so that's how I grew up. What can I do as a homeowner that would, one, meet the warranty requirements of the water heater, but then also extend the life out? I mean, I feel like you don't think about a water heater unless it's broken.
Right.
Right. But is there something that I can do on a regular basis to extend its life?
Yeah. So in the owner's manual that comes with every water heater, it says the maintenance schedule. So, let's go over what that is. A maintenance schedule for a normal tank water heater is a flush of the water heater. For all of you homeowners that are wondering why the little hose bib's at the bottom of the water heater, because that's what is there for us as professionals to flush your water heater out. But why do you need to flush your water heater out? Because our water in Arizona, if you already don't know, it's like the worst in the nation. You have sediments, you have heavy metals, you have calcium, lots of calcium, you have lime. All of that settles to the bottom of your water heater and it hardens, and then it pits it, and then eventually your water heater gives up, okay? Because it can't function. And that's about 1 inch a year.
Wow.
Okay? So
I've seen it build on my pool. So I can't imagine what's happening inside that tank.
And remember, your water heater feeds the water you bathe with.
Yeah.
The water you're washing your clothes with.
Yeah. That I brush my teeth with.
If you're using hot water, yes. Yeah. Okay. So imagine this. Just think about it. Think of it like a cup, and you throw sand in the cup of water. It just settles, and then you keep throwing a little bit more. Now you're circulating sand in your water, right? We'll just say calcium and everything else. Yeah. It's coming through, but then also you're reducing the actual volume that your water heater can.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Right? Yeah, because you're replacing it.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you're so excited that your 16-year-old water heater is still working, how efficient is it? One, you have and you've never serviced it. You probably have a good 10 plus pounds of just hard sediment that has built up. So now you've reduced the volume, okay? But it's amazing and I'll send you a video of what the water looks like
Yeah.
when we flush it. When we flush a water heater that hasn't been serviced in 2 or 3 years, it could be oatmeal looking. It looks kind of like gold water, brown water, rust water. And remember, you're bathing in that. Okay.
I don't know if I want to see that video.
Me too. People, I mean, part of my mission when I started my company was education.
Yeah.
When you bought your house, Casey, did anybody tell you how to maintenance it?
No.
No, because chances are the real estate agent that sold you it doesn't even maintenance their own home.
Yeah.
But there is maintenance requirements for HVAC, electrical, and plumbing. And maintaining your home, even though it's like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. It is expensive.
Yep.
But maintaining your home actually prolongs its life and the disasters that you can have in your house.
So at one point, let's say before I got into insurance, so let's say let's maybe say 2016. So not quite 10 years ago, we had a water heater situation, and you're talking the original water heater. It was probably pushing 18 years old. House was built in 99-ish. So 17, 18-year-old water heater, in which I'm not even thinking about until it exploded. And when I say exploded, meaning like the bottom came out from underneath, and now I've got water all over my garage.
Exactly.
And what I experienced, and this kind of leads me up to my next question. I do want to ask you about tankless water heaters. But my next question is, it seems like that a lot of people in the plumbing industry are more salespeople than they are technicians. Because my experience was, now I'm dealing with now I've got, I don't know, let's call it 100 gallons of water in my garage. Now I'm glad there's not 100 gallons of water either upstairs coming down or even in my living room, but I've still got a water heater situation. The walls were wet, those types of things. Well, now I've got a plumber in here who says, just file a claim against your homeowner's policy and we'll take care of the whole thing, and handed me an invoice for like $16,000. And it was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
That was the plumbing company?
Yes.
Okay.
And there was a restoration thing mixed in, and there was a whole, I felt like, and if my wife was, this is going to sound horrible, but only if my wife was here, I would have gotten the phone call of, this is what it is, versus me pushing back saying, whoa, this doesn't sound right. Doesn't feel right. Doesn't sound right. So before I ask you about tankless water heaters, is everybody in the plumbing industry a salesperson?
It is going that way. Okay. I'm going to answer this one, but I'm going to circle back to one more safety measure that I wanted to address. So not a lot of people, homeowners don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
You have a demand. My water heater's leaking. You go to Google, you go to Yelp, you go into the first company that you like their reviews, like you like their pictures, but who are they exactly? Okay.
Yeah. And this was like, I didn't even know how to turn my water off.
Okay. So a lot of people don't understand or don't know or don't care or just don't research. There's a huge shift in the service industry, period. In the last 20 years, private equity has been coming in and buying up service companies left and right. I personally have gotten 5 emails in the last 17 months from private equity firms wanting to buy my business.
Wow.
Why? Because there's money in the service industry. Just like healthcare, it's not going away. New homes in Arizona is booming. These big private equity firms are like, let's get in on it. Kind of like what's going on in Nevada. Like in 10 years, 30% of Nevada's housing is going to be owned by private equity firms. Yeah. Same thing. They're trying to come in and take as big of the market share, because if you own XYZ company and everybody knows who they are, and then you own ABC company and everybody knows who you are, you're gathering more of the actual market share, and people don't know these are owned by the same investment firm. But when you are having a private investment firm company, private equity company service your home, you're now moving from customer-centric services to sales, because I can't find one person who's going to refute the state that if you have a corporation, a true corporation with investors and guaranteed payment and dividend requirements in their structure to all these people or all these other entities. Shareholders, there we go. If you got that, then where's the focus go? Get it done cheaper, get it done faster, but also get it done like pushing sales. Okay. So plumbing's not cheap and plumbing is not necessarily fast. But what I have seen and what even my employees have told me and the stories that I've heard myself is they're coming in the morning for their morning meeting and they're talking about the numbers. Who got the most sales the previous day? Who needs coaching on their sales because they're not meeting their quota? A lot of people don't know that, hey, that plumber that just came out to your house has a quota. He needs to make $60,000 in sales this month to meet his quota, to meet his performance management.
Wow.
That is where plumbing is going. And that's why I want to focus on customer-centric services and solutions, not what my company needs, what you need. Because that is going away in this industry. It's turning into sales. Plumbers are getting coached on what to say, how to close the deal, the antics are very similar to every other sales industry, but it's like I'm inviting someone into my home. I don't know how to fix plumbing. I am relying on this person to help me solve a problem. So you're in my home. And when someone comes in looking at you like a number, do you really think that their interest of how to help you is really your best interest or their best interest? No, because corporate is going to fire me if I don't make $60,000 in sales this month throughout the homes that I get. They're going to talk to me about why you didn't close Casey's house when we sent you there. And that's where this industry is right now. Wow. I said, nope, I'm not going to do this. There's plenty of homes in Arizona, plenty of homes in Phoenix, plenty of homes in my service area. Coming in and looking at someone like I have to leave with $2,000 worth of work or my boss is going to ream me doesn't put anybody's best interest in. I want to come in, look at your problem, see how we can solution it, give you any recommendations without this hardcore, you need to do this now. If you commit to this, I can give you 50% off. Oh, that sucks. Okay. But people are getting that. So I built my business around the integrity of I am here to help you. I'm not here to violate your trust in your home with sales.
Wow. I can't say that I'm shocked.
I'm not shocked either.
Because a majority of my business is dealing with other businesses and they have the right and the opportunity to upsell. But I think that there becomes specific categories of need to have versus nice to have. And especially if you're in an emergency situation, you may not be thinking about like, oh, I don't even know, roots in my sewer lines, right? Versus like, yes, I see that, but please help me with the drip coming from the second floor. I appreciate you breaking that down because I think we've all experienced that, sitting around the kitchen table. I've experienced that in my air conditioner, where for lack of better words, I got you by the balls, and they know it. And it's really about how they're going to handle it.
But that questions the integrity of this industry. So when you have all these companies going integrity this, integrity that, integrity this, integrity that, and if you have enough time because you're not in an emergency, go look them up on the ROC, the Register of Contractors, put in the company name, figure out who owns them, go to their social media, go to Google, go to their webpage. Is their involvement with integrity matching what their social profiles, their Google profile reviews, their Yelp, is it matching? Okay. Wow. And that's one thing I love hearing from feedback from my clientele is like, hey, based off of what your clients are saying about you, I would just love to do business with you, because I really feel like you're stepping into my home to be honest with me and at least give me some education on what I need to know before I can make an informed decision.
You have just, I looked it up. You have like 198 Google reviews and 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think that is extremely telling. Let's switch gears back to water heaters, because now my brain is going crazy. Because I was in the shower this morning knowing that I was going to have this conversation, and I was like, the shower's too hot. But I know in 2 weeks I'm going to say the shower's too cold.
Mm-hmm. Well, the safety question is what you were asking me. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the one thing homeowners definitely don't know, because this information and this education is probably the most wow, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
The most important safety feature in your house is on your water heater. It's called a temperature and pressure relief valve.
Okay.
The reason why the temperature and pressure relief valve needs to be maintained is because our water can basically calcify the actual mechanism and it not engage when it's supposed to. A temperature and pressure relief valve is there to release pressure and even water through, usually it's a copper pipe, and then discharge out the exterior of your home because it's hot and there's pressure. But it's there because if your water heater fails, pressure and heat build up. Your water heater's already under pressure and it's already hot. But if it fails, pressure and heat build up, and when that thing explodes, it can kill people.
Oh, I bet.
It has. Anybody can go out to Google, go out to YouTube and put water heaters
like a
blow
bomb
up, okay? Even I think it was the Mythbuster guys. The Mythbuster guys have 3 or 4 videos where they've basically they've disengaged the temperature and pressure relief valve, mm-hmm. put the water heater under pressure, gauge how high the pressure needs to be before it blows. One of them actually goes through the second story from the bottom.
Like a rocket.
Yep, like a rocket, from the first floor through the second floor and through the roof.
Oh.
So people, and so again, back to integrity, back to who's actually going to install it. Do you want the unlicensed handyman installing this in your house?
Especially if you have a rocket that's about to go through. Man, exactly. I could just hear my wife now. You put a rocket in.
Yeah, but so that's a maintenance requirement, and most people don't know. So flushing out the water heater, getting your temperature and pressure relief valve checked, checking the gas lines, checking the elements which on electric water heaters actually heat the water, having those checked. Just like you get a car oil change every few thousand miles, your water heater needs to be reviewed every single year, just for your own health and safety. Because if it fails, anything could happen.
I feel like you ever see the movie Apollo 13 where they're like, let's circulate the tanks, and then that's where everything goes wrong. Let's shift gears and let's get out of tanks,
okay, and
go to tankless.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think I've ever seen a video of a water heater going through a second floor. But I have entertained the idea of tankless, and you hear, oh, tankless this and tankless that. And I think about, oh, that would save me probably, I don't know, let's say 12 square feet in my garage. And the things I could do in that 12 square feet, right?
Uh-huh.
But why
tankless?
Why has every plumber, not every plumber, but why have a good majority of plumbers told me, no, I don't think a tankless is right for you?
So it starts with the why. What type of source do you have? Gas or electric?
Electric.
Okay. So right now, the current technology offered for electric tankless is not really economical for people to switch from a tank to a tankless electric to fuel their whole house.
Okay.
your expectation is that your water's going to come out hot, right? Just like it is right now.
Absolutely.
Sitting in a 50-gallon tank or 80-gallon, whatever. The amount of power that a tankless electric has to pull to keep that 120, 130 heat to get from one side of the house to the next is pretty high. So as far as, am I going to make the investment to switch over? It usually is not an investment right now with the current technology that's worth it, because you might have to up your panel so that you can, your electrical panel on the side of your house, just to get enough power to your tankless water heater to give you that heat that you need. But then also, electric, with the electric, it could be a good option for, let's say, a casita.
Okay.
But not a 3-bathroom. You have a 3-bathroom, 3 showers, washer, machine, kitchen.
Yeah,
dishwasher. It's not really practical.
What if I had like a detached garage, or
if you
mother-in-law suite or something like that?
It may be, because it's going to be able to keep up with the demand. People need to think about this. What is your expectation? Can that product maintain that expectation? And then does that person actually know the why and the science behind it? Do they know the specs? Do they know how hot the system's actually going to be running? Why does it need more power to get hotter? All these questions can be answered by people who've actually researched the product. But that's most of the reason why I'd say the rest of the plumbers that you've talked to are like, no. But the why is most important, because if you decide to go make that decision, it may not actually meet up to the expectations that you want.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now, gas all day. That fuel source is still inexpensive. Yep. Okay. And gas, since it's an inexpensive fuel source, it doesn't need to pull amperage. It's not pulling amperage, okay, and not pulling power like an electric. So the only problem, and this is what I've seen some people, and I'm guilty of this myself, is when you have endless hot water from a gas tankless, you now have epically long showers.
Yeah.
Okay, so
my feet are wrinkled.
Okay, your water bill might now go up because everybody in your house is taking 20-minute long showers because they can. Yeah. But for an actual conversion, you with a gas, all these manufacturers, we use Navien, they have a conversion that allows to take out the tank, okay, in your garage and still put in a tankless off a 1/2-inch gas line. Okay. That's huge. Why? Sure. Because that's less like renovation. Like, okay, do you have, do I have enough power coming to this water heater? Do I have enough amperage? Do I have that with my electric water heater source? You may not, which causes more cost to actually convert. Whereas a gas tankless, it's like, oh, you know what? The manufacturer figured out that, you know what, they built a version that goes straight to from a 1/2-inch gas line, which is pretty much what tank water heaters are. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of these new builders, like I have a new build house, my tankless is actually running off of a 3/4-inch gas line.
Oh, wow.
So I will be able to switch that out just because the manufacturer has these different sizes. So,
and you can run it down to a 1/2 inch.
No, you wouldn't run it down. Oh. You wouldn't run it down. The problem is if someone is running, if someone has a 1/2-inch gas line, I'm sorry, that's not the problem. I'm going to put my hand up here. Okay. With the tankless conversions, because a tank already has a 1/2-inch gas line, it's economical to switch over to a tankless water heater because the fuel source doesn't have to be sized to a different size.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Whereas an electric, it's pulling more power than the original tank water heater was. And, oh, do I have any more space in my electrical box to pull more power? That requires re-engineering and a bigger panel. But with gas, the manufacturers have made the systems efficient with that simple conversion of you don't have to go and get a bigger gas line to be able to power a gas water heater,
Understood.
a gas tankless water heater.
Got it. Okay, let's switch gears because I am holding something I've never seen before.
Well, this actually goes hand in hand with tankless, okay?
Okay.
So
tell me about the water treatment guide.
So we have put together, I'm like the only company that I know of that has put together a water treatment guide. And this is all about education. I get so many calls from people who are like, I'm looking on the internet. I'm not really getting too much information. I don't really know what to ask. I want water treatment. I don't know what kind to get. I don't know what I can put in my house. But water treatment is extremely important. When you're choosing water treatment, it's extremely important to understand your expectation before you choose a water treatment system.
Okay.
So, but if you, for all of you people who are looking at getting a gas tankless, you must have some type of water treatment with a gas tankless, because every manufacturer that I know of within a tankless water heater addresses hard water, and if it will void your warranty if you know you live in a hard water situation and you don't have a water treatment. They're like, hey, if you know that you have this level of calcium or this level of sediments or whatever, and you don't get that water treatment, then hey, your 10-year heat exchange warranty is now void. Okay, so everybody just remember that as we're going into water treatment.
Okay.
Another reason why water treatment is so important is we live in Arizona. That's it. I'm done. Drop the mic. No. So there's so many different systems out there that do different things. So we created this water treatment guide to explain the difference between each system. What is a conditioner? What is a softener? What is a softener and filtration?
That's where I was going to go. Yeah.
What do they like? How are they different? Okay, so let's break it down. First of all, a water softener is not a filter. If you have a water softener and you've had it on your house for 10 years and you're like, why does my water smell like chlorine because the city decided to pump a bit more chlorine through the water, your softener doesn't filter, okay? Chlorine, bacteria, sediments, it doesn't get filtered because it's not a filter, it's a softener. It literally is just working on the ionic exchange of the hardness in your water. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's softener. A water conditioner is not a softener. I don't care what you're seeing on the internet and what type of company is like, oh, it's a salt-free softener. No, it's not. Okay, it just handles the molecules that are in the water differently, but it doesn't have ionic exchange to remove, okay, and reduce. Conditioners, they reduce the ability for the calcium and other things in the water to actually connect to each other. So that moves through the water, but it's not removed from the water, okay? And a softener has ionic exchange that actually removes hardness.
Okay. This is a lot of information. I've never seen this level of detail, and we'll post this. But I've never seen this level of detail when it comes. So I was thinking water softener, and I've seen people buy salt before. I think we've all been to a house or have one where you almost feel like slimy. Am I describing that the right way?
Yeah.
After you get out of the shower. But I mean, can you drink that water? Are you walking through with your clients to really say, here's the type of water we have and what we would recommend?
Here's the type of water you have and we have.
Well, but I'm looking and it says like removal of organics and heavy metals. And I mean, to me, when I hear that in like soap and detergent, like, oh my gosh,
again, there's so much.
yeah,
There's so much to it. So when I walk into someone's home and they want to have a consultation on water, I start with their expectations.
okay,
What is your expectations? I want to preserve my washing machine. I want to preserve my dishwasher. I want to preserve the fixtures because hard water is going to build up over time. Okay. Are you concerned about any health issues? I personally, and it's in the water treatment guide, I have eczema all over my body. My quality of water matters to me on a daily basis for my quality of life because chlorine irritates my skin. Hard water irritates my skin. Sediments irritate my skin. So that is another level that people aren't thinking about, but that also can go with the water that we're bathing in. So I really go through their expectations, and then we talk about what do they want to deal with as far as maintenance and their monthly involvement, because softeners have, it's called a brine tank, and you have to put salt into them.
Yeah.
Okay. But then we talk about how much time do you want to spend maintaining it. Then we talk about, okay, what do you want for your drinking water? Do you want drinking water throughout every single faucet, every single area that touches water in your house? Or do you want water at a point of use, aka sink? Do you want an RO system here? Or do you want the water everywhere in your house to be drinkable? Those are all different systems.
interesting.
They're all different systems.
Would you drink tap water?
I grew up on tap water in Arizona. I'm still living.
There you go. Nice.
But not anymore. I mean, I don't, because the water quality is different than when 30,
When we were kids.
30 plus, okay? 30 plus years ago, the water quality here in Arizona is different.
Yeah.
It's just different. So no, I don't advocate to go out and start drinking tap water for, that's what you're going to do. Because every municipality, you have private wells in the Queen Creek area. You have private wells in the Peoria area. And then you have the city of Tempe or Mesa or whatnot. Then you have the different municipalities. And
they're only going to do the bare minimum
exactly
that they need to do to, if somebody comes by and sticks a cup in it and says parts per million, they're only going to do
this and this. Yes, It meets our standards, but those standards have kind of changed from 40 years ago. Yes, there's some stuff that's absolutely, it's like, yes, we can't have this in the water. But if you're looking for the best water that you can drink, there are options. You just need to decide what system is best for your house and best for your budget. And we're not the type of company, we're definitely not the type of company that's going to go in there and sell you the biggest, baddest system, because it may not meet your expectations. Sure. That might not be what you're actually looking for. So I listen to my clients' needs and pair them up with something, and then I give them really good products. Okay. Everything that I offer to my clients is something that I use in my home. And I don't believe that when you're making an investment in your water quality, cheap is the way to go.
Sure.
Every single one of my products has manufacturer warranties that are some of the highest in the industry, if not the highest in the industry. Some of my big name multi-state national competitors don't even have a warranty on some of the media or even resin that my manufacturer does. And my manufacturer, all of my systems are actually assembled here in Arizona.
Cool.
So I have like direct access. If I have a problem with the system, I have direct access to the guys who's in charge of building them.
Door in.
Yeah, and I can do on-site issues with them, and that has value because clients don't know what they don't know. And It's like, oh, my water system is doing this. And it's like, okay, are you going to call some 1-800 number over in Texas when they don't even have anybody to service this here? Like that type of stuff, it depends too with their expectations, the client's expectations. They're like, I just want it to be like, set it and forget it. Okay. So there's so many options people have but they really need to think about what is their expectation of getting this water treatment system. How much do they want to work on it, maintenance it monthly, and what do they actually want it to do for their house and health? If you don't have answers to those, or at least an idea, I can help you figure it out. But don't just go buy something that you see on Amazon and then go try to install it. You don't know what you don't know what you want. You don't even know if it's going to work to what you think it's going to work to do. So
fair enough.
Fair enough.
We have talked about water heaters. We've talked about tankless water heaters. We've talked about the ROC and competitive plumbers. We've talked about water softeners and RO systems. What other services are you offering?
Well, at Charities Plumbing Solutions, we can help you with whole home repipes.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of these homes in Arizona are aged, and they were built with their copper piping going through their slab or their foundation.
Yeah.
And when those crack and leak, the only option is to do a whole home repipe at that point.
Wow.
And that's basically running PEX through the attic and down the walls versus obviously we're not going through the foundation anymore. So we offer that. I got a crew that is experienced in that, and we can get that done usually in 2 days.
Wow.
I don't go for the 1-day install because I don't know any client that has had a 1-day install who was satisfied with the quality of that install with a company who's like, oh yeah, we're going to go throw it in 1 day. That none of them have been happy. Taking your time, it should be a 2-day just to make sure it's done properly.
When I think whole home, yeah, you better come back tomorrow.
Yeah, but there's tons of companies like, we can repipe it in 1 day. Okay, that's great. Yeah, you'll get 8 guys out there, but you got 8 guys trying to rush this in 6 hours. Where's the quality? Then you're putting the walls back up and it's like, boom, what just happened?
Yeah.
We skipped
They're already in their sales meeting to make 2 more.
Exactly.
That day.
Exactly. Do not skimp on quality. So we usually do it in 2 days because we take the proper amount of time to make sure it's done correctly. Nothing is missed. Oops, we didn't skip a hose bib, and now you no longer have a functional hose bib outside. What other services do we offer? Water heaters, water softeners, repipes, but basic remodels too. Like if you're remodeling your bathroom, we do plumbing work for that. If you're you want to move the toilet from one side of the room to the other, or want to convert a tub to a shower, there's drains that need to be bigger.
Got it.
We also do light commercial work.
Okay.
We don't build restaurants. We don't do tap out, soil, all of that stuff. I'm not going to come and build a 35,000 square foot industrial space. But if it is an existing commercial space, I can service it and make some minor adjustments to move existing water lines to something else and everything. But we don't do really like that build out of commercial. So we work with our schools. So we have a couple of schools that we service. We have a couple brick and mortar clientele, like printing shop and restaurants and stuff like that. So that's kind of the realm we stay. Salons.
Okay.
The hair out of the plug.
Yeah. A lot of.
That's the type of stuff that we service. Let's see here. As far as the residential, we can put in, like, if you're wanting to switch out faucets or any type of your fixtures, we can do that as well. Basically, if it's in the footprint of your house, we can do it.
I thought I was just going to come up with something brilliant, and you were going to be like, that's the best question I've ever been asked. And I completely forgot what it was. I think it had something to do with the whole home replacement and that.
Or repipe?
Yeah, that whole process. I mean, that scares me, especially when you talk about foundations and those types of things.
Well, we wouldn't be messing with the foundation.
What about, and this happens in my house quite frequently, and it's I don't have any more hair, but we seem to get a lot of hair. And it seems like maybe once a month will get a backed up sink.
Yeah.
Right? It could be the bathroom sink. It could be the kitchen sink. And I try not to pour anything down there. I have, gone in and fished clumps of hair out with, that plastic hanger type of thing. But what is, do you recommend a Drano type of chemical?
Don't put Drano and chemicals down your pipes.
Okay.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't. Depending on what your pipe is made out of, it's ABS for the newer homes. It could be cast iron. Those are the most two common when they're right underneath your house.
Sure.
ABS on newer home, cast iron for, but there's still other metals that it could be, but those are the most two common that we see. But those chemicals are just corroding away what you have there. Okay.
They sell them.
They gelatinize and just create a bigger problem.
They sell them in like plastic safety bags. It says caution. Have you seen that? Yeah. Like where I've looked at it and been like, oh, I'm supposed to dump this down my sink, and then when it clears, now it's okay for me to brush my teeth and stick my head underneath this faucet.
Yeah, it's those Coke can do anything type of things.
Yeah.
Like Coke takes off rust. I feel like it's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, we all know what Drano is.
Drano now in Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. We all know what Drano is, but we don't actually know the ramifications of the ingredients, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is we get probably, I don't know. I mean, exact numbers not, but they're definitely 2 or 3 phone calls a month where it's like, oh, I've tried to do it with Drano and it didn't work. Well, actually, when we get a camera in there and we look in to see what's going on, it's just this huge gelatinized
clump of crap
stuck to the sides of the sewer line, which is stopping the toilet paper. And it's like one of those sticky hands.
Yeah.
It's now just adding more onto it, and then it just builds up, and then that's when you get your little backup, and then we come in there and we rooter it out or drain. Mostly for roots, we rooter, but you get the drain machine and bust through it, clean up the area. You can do jetting. That's a service that we offer. So if you've been in a house, and we're seeing this a lot, we're seeing a lot more of this right now. A home that's maybe 20, 25 years old, where people are like, hey, you know what? I'm getting this buildup of water in my shower, and I'm getting it, with like my toilet. Bubbles are coming through, and it's like, okay, how old is the house? I will ask what your life habits are, okay? Because people who really do throw the grease down the sink are just asking for their line to be jetted.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And what is a jetting? Jetting is basically like the best power wash of your pipes, and it clears out everything that's built up. And this legitimately happens constantly with buildings over time.
I think it happens to me probably in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, where it's like, the kitchen sink is full, but that's because we poured 3 gallons of bacon grease down the drain. And, now I'm dealing with a wall of grease along a pipe that's, normally this big. And now it's got a layer of wax in there.
And sometimes the only way to stop the reoccurring problem is to do a jetting and just jet the whole sewer line.
I've found, you're probably going to total cringe on this. I found that I will boil a gallon of water and then put a little bit of soap in it and then pour that straight down. And usually
there's nothing wrong with that.
Usually that is like the first line of defense.
That's fine. That is fine. There's other little home remedies too. Some people do baking soda and hot water.
Oh yeah, it's like making a volcano but in your sink.
Yeah. And really it works depending on what the compound is that's stuck to your sewer line.
Yeah.
If it's not something that's going to respond to that, or it's been there for so long,
or it's like a Matchbox car.
The only thing you can do is take a drain machine to it, or just jet it and get it all out.
What's the craziest thing you've pulled out of a pipe?
So recently it was a square wooden block.
Okay.
But before that, we pulled out a blue dinosaur. In our commercial space, we just pulled out a pair of chones from the boys' bathroom. It was at an elementary school. I'm like, a whole pair of underwear in the boys' bathroom. They tried to flush that down, so we pulled that out.
He was embarrassed.
I don't.
He probably went poopies in his chonies.
I wasn't gonna go out there, but in the commercial space, that's the most exciting stuff to look on a camera scope, okay, and go see what's going on.
It's like more exciting than figuring out what the sex of your baby is.
It'd be like, what are we gonna get here? Because a lot of older homes with the cast iron pipes are getting root intrusion, or the pipes are just collapsing. Okay.
Oh wow.
Just so you know, cast iron pipes have like a 50-year lifespan. So if your home was built in the 1960s or 1970s, you need to start saving your pennies now, because it's past its life expectancy, and at any day you could just have part of your sewer line collapse. Okay, it could. Wow. It could just collapse.
And start to sink like your front yard or something, right?
Well, it could be under the slab.
Ooh.
It could be in the slab area. We were just out the other day. A landlord called us because the tenant was like, hey, everything is backing up on one side of the house. And we went out there, and the landlord was like, I just moved out. I've lived in the house for 16 years. I've never had a problem. That's great. You've never had a problem, but your pipes are 65 years old.
Yeah.
Anything could happen. And that's what we found. A 6-foot section of his sewer line that ran through the house in the kitchen area had collapsed. So everything on one side of the house wasn't working. He had, fortunately, an addition done with new ABS on the opposite side of the house. So they at least had one functioning bathroom and shower, because that sewer line met outside in the backyard at a different point. But the kitchen...
But you can repipe that. You can repipe something like that.
If it collapses, that's tearing through the floor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But you can take preventative measures for anybody who knows that this is going to come about. It's called a reline. So for homeowners who have the older homes, mm-hmm. who know that their pipes, they're cast iron, they're galvanized, or even ABS, okay, is coming up on its life expectancy or past its life expectancy, there is a process called a reline that can be done on the sewer line, which basically goes in, and it's an epoxy with a very high woven felt that is blown up into the sewer line and basically creates a new pipe with a liner inside the pipe. Yes.
Oh, very cool.
And that has a great life expectancy of, I mean, we have a guarantee on residential for 20 years, but those can last even longer.
Wow.
So the only option once your pipe collapses is to go in and actually
cut the floor.
Okay. And I'm going to say that generically because not one size fits all. Okay. It does depend on the location too. But you can go in and reline that. And one thing homeowners don't know is you could actually reline your water pipes too. There is a process that will reline your water pipes and do the same thing and give
throughout the entire house.
Throughout the entire house.
Wow. That's awesome.
I learned more recently in the last couple of years about the water lines. I was like, that's cool. Especially if you have your copper pipes going underneath into your slab. The cost to get your water lines relined so that you don't have that sudden burst of or break in your copper is minimal compared to what you have to go through to repipe your house.
So I just had such a random thought, and you can totally kick me if you want. But like if you've got like a slab leak, mm-hmm. right? But there's also like post-tension foundations, mm-hmm. which you'll see a stamp that says "Do not drill
Or
into
core.
this" or "core" or anything like that. Because if you hit one of those pieces of rebar or wire or whatever is holding that together, the whole thing will snap and come unglued. Are they putting pipes into those type of slabs?
Yeah, there are post tension slabs with copper in them.
That are still running through.
And that was a transition when they stopped doing the copper a while ago in the foundation.
Okay.
But can we run into a house that has it? Yes. What we do, it's called X-ray. So basically, if somebody is trying to do a repair, let's say, or they want to move the toilet from one side over, okay, to the other side of the bathroom, you have to X-ray the floor, and we find out where those post-tension wires are. And then there are specialty companies. I use them because I'm a plumbing company, okay? When it comes down to a post-tension slab and we're moving sewer lines through a post-tension slab, I am working with a concrete company who specializes in this type of work, because you can get around it. You can't go through, obviously, a post-tension wire. You can't go through the wire, but there are ways to get around it. But having a plumbing company just come in and start tearing up the floor, you're asking for problems. And
that sounds like an expensive toilet move.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was just looking at a picture 2 days ago. I got it over the weekend from someone who was like, check this out, Charity. The whole floor looks like it was jackhammered, okay? Yeah. The whole floor, there's like no concrete cuts from like a blade, okay? Whole thing looks jackhammered. You can see the post-tension wires snapped all the way through all of it. And I said, that is the difference between experience and craftsmanship and everything else. When you want to get, because any plumbing company, we can go through the floor, but does it mean it's done correctly? Absolutely not. I'm going to find out if it's good post-tension. If it's not, great. But if it is, we're going to X-ray it, and then we're going to come up with a game plan. Does that cost more? Yes.
I can't imagine.
Are you going to turn me down because my bid is a couple $1,000 more? Yes, because you're trying to go for cheap, and then all of a sudden you have a foundation problem. Do you know how much it costs to fix a foundation?
I was just going to say that's you could probably total out the house at that point. That is like, no, seriously, that's like I don't remember the house being wobbly, but here we are.
Well, you have areas that, I mean, depending on how it's built and whatnot, I mean, tons of things can go wrong. I have a client right now, we've done plumbing work, who called me and was like, hey, you know what? We found out we have foundation problems. She is looking at $35,000 and 2 months of this company to be in her house to fix it. Wow. So quality and experience matter in the plumbing industry, guys. Knowing who is coming into your home matters. Yeah. Understanding their experience matters, because the cost of home repair or maintenance, I just heard it was on the news the other day that it's the average maintenance of a home in the United States is $16,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of people probably won't buy houses if they knew it was that expensive. But if you cut corners in the service area, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, you are looking at double or more the original.
In a larger chunk.
In a larger chunk to make sure it's working correctly.
Yeah.
And get it done correctly. So I am all about education, and I will talk to anybody who wants to know, because if you want to know, you can make a better decision. But please be careful about who you invite into your home.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Because sometimes quality just doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just get the sale.
But you also do like faucets and easy stuff too.
Why is that easy? Have you ever seen a $3,000 custom hand grovey?
I
I
don't.
think I said that correctly. No, probably
Grovey?
not. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
All right, we're gonna cut that part out.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna cut that part out. Say, start with the easy stuff again.
So, but you can do like, I don't know, easy stuff as well, like a faucet or install this toilet.
Who says that's easy?
Well, it's not. I'm thinking of crawling my butt underneath a cupboard, and then it's not easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but you're thinking of something that you could possibly buy at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are custom faucets, $2,000-$3,000 faucets. They're not easy to replace, and it's not cheap to replace or install them. Now, have you ever heard of the brand Toto toilet?
Yes.
What do you know about Toto toilets?
That it checks your credit every time you sit down on it.
You know, Toto has some very expensive toilets. I know one of the suppliers that I see regularly has a $17,000 Toto in their guest bathroom at the shop. Why? Because they're showcasing it for those of us who are using it. Do you really think that is a simple install?
Oh, I can't imagine.
$17,000 toilet.
Yeah.
So, what I think
does it pat you dry?
Might as well.
Yeah, right. I would want to do several things.
It had an electrical bar of all the different options right there. Okay, so now we have a toilet that needs electricity. Okay, so now you got to have electrical, but it had a whole bar of options of what you could do with that toilet.
I'd want to put my feet up.
Bidets. Bidets are like it's like toilets with bidets are like the new thing. Those are not cheap. But I think, you know, how you started that statement, simple stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing simple about getting a correct installation with plumbing.
Well, you think about it, you're wrestling against pressured water that will find the weakest point to come out. And you have to control that.
So normally when people tell me that it's going to be simple, those aren't people who are going to identify with the quality of the work that we do.
I actually have a rule. So I'm a pretty big DIY guy, and I never start a DIY project after 12 p.m. on a Friday. Only because service rate, like if I got to call you on a Saturday afternoon, you're going to be like, oh, baby.
Yeah, I'm stepping away from my family to service your emergency. That will always cost more money. It doesn't matter what company you're with. Weekend hours still cost money. Even if the company is like, oh, we don't charge any extra for weekends and holidays. Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah. It's just built into it. It's built into it. It is. But no, I think that when homeowners are thinking about plumbing, HVAC, or even electrical, stick with a professional, stick with somebody who's qualified to do the work, and let them be the expert.
Yeah.
When you start getting into this YouTube university, which isn't accredited at all, and I see people constantly who are doing stuff incorrectly outside of code, or maybe in a different state doing something that's to their code, not Arizona code, stop creating an opinion that you know how to do this, okay? Because a guy on YouTube can go, oh, this is how you change out a valve, and he does it. But what does he have that you don't? Experience. Experience. We get so many people who are like, I started it, and now I can't finish it. And realistically, they're paying 3 or 4 times more. So let's say it's a valve. They jacked up the valve in the shower. So we have to actually go and change the valve, which goes through drywall on the opposite side. So you have a drywall repair. Yep. You have a valve replacement. When the reality is maybe we could have helped them and fixed it by just changing out the cartridge correctly. But because old boy decides to go take pliers to it, starts banging on it, or my favorite, the impact drill. Okay.
The same as you change a tire with in NASCAR.
Yeah, pretty much. They take an impact drill to this stuff. It's like, this is shot. So where you started as maybe a $300 repair with us has now turned into a $2,000 repair, which should last you the next 15 years because we just switched out all of your valves and your copper and your head and everything. You really need to think about that. That is probably one of the most couple times a month we're getting somebody who's like, I started this project thinking I could do it, jack up something so bad that we have to do a bigger repair, and they could have handled it if they were just willing to spend $100 more. But YouTube is not accredited. TikTok is not accredited. And your best friend's buddy is not licensed. Okay.
And the guy doing side work.
Yeah. Your best friend's buddy who doing side work isn't licensed.
Yeah.
Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, this fixture just broke. You've had it for 20 years. Spend the money to get the quality craftsmanship and the right guy to put in something that's going to last you 20 more.
I'll give you something else too. Just from an insurance perspective. I don't do a whole lot of personal stuff, but I have some. And I know enough about it to walk through. When you hire, one of the things that they'll require if you either have a warranty or even making a claim on your insurance is that the person you've hired is licensed, and that they have insurance and that you've collected all of that information. And because insurance companies are not in the business of paying claims, if you don't meet those specific things and a claim occurs, like let's say you hire a guy doing side work, one of the first things that adjuster is going to ask you is, who did this work? And you could absolutely say, oh, I did it myself, and as the homeowner you have the right to. But if you are not hiring a licensed qualified individual or company to work on that, they are most likely within their rights to deny that claim.
And that is a great topic because I have seen this. Okay. I have a client who called me and said, Charity, I have a letter from my insurance company that after my water damage claim in February, they sent her a letter in October and said, if you want to continue to have insurance, you must have all of these preventative features on your house. Okay.
One's the water sensor.
No. These water heater must be 10 years old or less. So if her water heater wasn't, but if her water heater was 10 years old, there's one. We're replacing number one. She is required to have a pressure regulating valve, which is a device that goes on your main line water from this city into the house. The pressure regulating valve keeps the pressure of the water that the city can pump up the pressure to get the water out to houses farther and farther away. Code is that your water pressure should be at 80 or below, okay? Or below, 80 or below. So that's in Arizona or Phoenix at least. So if you have water pressure at 100 PSI coming into your house, your water heater's not rated for that. The hoses on your water supply lines for your toilets aren't rated for that. Your PEX through your walls aren't even rated to be under pressure like that over a long time. Your washing machine hoses, like all of those, even your fixtures, your faucets aren't rated to be at this high PSI. So she had to get a pressure regulating valve added to it. But her builder didn't actually build her main line conducive to adding it. So we had to do a whole mainline rebuild just to add the pressure regulating valve. Wow. Okay, so now we're over $5,000 right now.
Sure.
Okay? Then she had to, we had to go in and check all of her water supply lines, meaning every angle stop, meaning the emergency shut off, the hot and the cold of the shower. I'm sorry, not shower, to the sink. Every single sink. We had to go in and check those. We had to go in and take pictures of all of it. Then she had to buy sensors and put a sensor next to her bathtub. She had to put a sensor behind the washer machine. She had to put a sensor behind every toilet. Okay. Mm-hmm. But we had to go and check that. Oh, the biggest thing though was she had to add a automatic, basically a Wi-Fi enabled device to shut the water off at the main to the whole house if there was another leak. So there's a device called the Mow and Flow. That's the most common that people hear. It basically, we have to build a loop out of the wall for the main line, hook this machine up. The machine hooks up to the homeowner's Wi-Fi, and that machine regulates pressure, determine if there's a leak. And if there is a leak, it will cut off the water supply so that the rest of the house doesn't have constant water coming in.
Wow.
So this woman was required to add thousands of dollars in safety or preventative safety measures to continue having insurance. And I showed a couple of different, it was actually B&I, but I showed a couple of different insurance agents, and they were like, I have not seen, and I showed them the letter. And I was like, are you guys starting to see this? I guarantee, man, I will put it, and everybody will be like, Charity, you're crazy. And I'm saying, no, this letter was the best way as far as an insurance company to start denying claims, in my opinion, or cutting people. But the reason why this lady is getting the letter is because she has done zero maintenance to her house. Her angle stops are all 18 years old. Okay, well, you've had pressure at 100 psi coming into your house for who knows long. There's all these points in her house that could just bust and dump gallons of water. Okay,
for the weakest one.
Weakest point. So I can see this being a future, Casey, where we're getting a policy is like, oh, do you have a Mow and Flow to shut off the water in case there's a leak? Is your water heater still under warranty? Is there a pressure regulating valve? Those three things are not cheap.
Yeah.
And I see them being a requirement just to get insurance in the future.
I will guarantee, because it's already a question on homeowners insurance about, one, have you upgraded your house? And there's different forms of what that upgrade means. Usually it's around energy efficiency. But the other question is, have you installed water sensors? And they're looking for them under the kitchen and bathroom sinks. And I truly believe, and I know enough people in the insurance industry, both on the agent and the claim side, to where I would not be surprised within the next 3 to 5 years that those water sensors are a requirement on every single house.
Yeah.
Hands down, flat out.
Water loss is high.
Yeah.
Water loss claims are high.
Absolutely.
And then it comes back to what you were talking about before when you had a plumber in your house. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, there's water, the restoration company. Okay, so let's dig a little bit into what that is. When I got my license, I had restoration company after restoration company start calling me.
Sure.
Charity, we'd love to get those referrals for water damage from you, and we will pay you $1,500 for whoever goes with us. Okay. And I'm like, I don't know if you do a good job. I don't know if your clients like you. Like, I have a reputation and a brand. I don't think that this should be transactional. Sure. If I'm going to work with a restoration company, I'm going to work with them because they're certified in every possible thing that the state and the regulatory agency allows for this. They're going to be good with customer service. They're going to be customer centric. They're going to have like true integrity, because the biggest corruption I see is in that restoration and plumber relationship. Holy cow. So we had a client, they were referred to by a restoration company. They asked us to come out. My license holder goes out and he's like, we're trying to find the leak. Okay. We couldn't exactly find the leak. So we're going through it and everything. And the homeowner's like, well, can't you just write me up a letter? And so I can send it to the insurance company and says that it's this. And my lead guy's like, no, not at all. No, we don't do that. I'm like, no way. And the homeowner goes, well, good. Because the last plumbing company that came in here came in with a restoration company that said that they were going to put in a claim for getting me a whole brand new kitchen. And they were going to tear everything out, and that my plumber will say anything I need to get it done. No, you guys, no.
Wow.
But this is the thing. You don't know what that relationship is based off of when a plumbing company refers a restoration company. You don't know the basis. Nobody's going to be like, oh, yeah, I refer this company because they give me $1,500 for every person I do. No one's going to disclose that.
Yeah.
But you as the homeowners, you don't know what you don't know. That is the biggest corruption in this industry right now. And you have to be very careful because, one, when you have a restoration contract signed, the fine print might say that they have power of attorney. Okay. The rest to make decisions.
Where they become the GC immediately. Yeah.
Exactly. Every single contract that I know of says that you give a personal guarantee. Okay. So you have this water leak. You're devastated. You're an emotional wreck. This is your home. That's the worst time to be taken advantage of. But there's so many millions of dollars in fraud, and that's why insurance is going up, because it's just fraud. Okay,
we've seen it like in the auto industry with windshields.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, shoot, I think there's just so much more money. There's so much more money. But think of it this way, and this is how it works. Okay, I, as a plumbing company, go, okay, we have a leak. The leak has caused damage, or even a water heater. If water heater busts out, it could spread water, and the drywall soak up water for days. If you don't have an emergency shutoff, the water is still coming in and feeding the water heater, even though it's leaking. Okay. So now you got drywall wet all the way down the walls. Over in a day, it could start growing mold. But then that house could have asbestos on top of it, or it could be an older home with lead paint. You are just layering problem after problem. I, as the plumbing company, you usually call me first. You're rushing. You're like, hey, I have an emergency. I need you to come over right now. I have a leak. We go in and we stop the leak. Then me, as a plumbing company, I can give a referral, or I can say, nah, you know what? Just call whoever you want off of Google. Okay. But because restorations are going after plumbing companies to be that preferred partner, chances are every plumbing company has a referral. Okay. Yep. So then I call my restoration company and I say, hey, can you come out right now? Okay. And that's where this whole scenario is going to go left or it's going to go right, because who comes out is either going to give you honest integrity of it, or it's transactional based and everybody's trying to make the biggest dollar.
Their hands in the jar.
So then we look at this, okay? Because there's some restoration companies who are going to talk to the adjuster, and they are going to go, hey, what are all of the coverages so I understand, so we can actually see how we can rebuild this house within the coverages without the client having to pay more.
Sure.
Okay? Then there's the other companies who are like, oh my gosh, we got to take it all down. Let's get our guys in here right now. The humidifier's going up, the water's in, and you're in an emotional state. Right now, you just want it fixed, right? Yep. You sign on the dotted line to basically a blank check, okay? That says, I will pay you for whatever is done, okay? So then they start doing their work. You start putting everything back. They start putting everything back together. They send this bill to the insurance company. The insurance company is like, oh, well, this covers this part of their policy. This covers this part. Oh, you did this type of remediation. They don't have this in their policy, so we're not going to pay for that. And the homeowner can have any kind of leftover balance, because we're just going to throw numbers. Let's say it was $80,000 for this rebuild that the company billed out. But the insurance company was like, well, based off of this scope of work and the coverages, we're only writing for a check for 50. Who's on the hook for the other 30?
Homeowner.
The homeowner. But they would have had a completely different approach to how they would have known that, what they would have done had they known we are basically going to have to pay for this remodel. But preying on people during their most vulnerable state is what is going on.
I had a restoration company. Total side note. This wasn't for me, but I got a phone call from one of my insured clients, and she was an elderly lady, and she said, I think I have a slab leak. And I said, what makes you think that? She said, the floor is warm.
Okay.
I said, okay. She said, I've got a restoration guy out here right now, and he filled up a 5-gallon bucket, an orange bucket, and he poured it on my floor to show me that I had a slab leak. And I kind of paused on the phone, and I said, I won't say her name, but I said, how does that make sense to you? And she said, it doesn't. All I know is I have 5 gallons of water on my floor, and he told me I have a leak. And I said, you need to kick him out of your house right now, and we're going to start over on this process. And she didn't have a slab leak at all. But as soon as you inject water onto there, sure, anything looks like a slab leak. So, and there was a lot more that went into that, but I think that that's a good example of someone probably preying on an older community, on a single lady, on a
homeowner,
on a homeowner itself. Yeah.
At that level, nobody knows what's going on. They're really relying on an expert to tell them, and they just get taken advantage of.
I've had different situations where, like, toilet overflows, and now you've got a black water situation.
And that's the correct term. Okay.
Yeah.
Or gray water.
Yeah. But
that does, when you have a toilet overflow and you have sewage water, your insurance does look at it differently than a water leak.
Most of that time, that's not covered. The water backup with that black or caca water, that's not going to be covered. So you got to read the fine print on that.
And you need to go to the correct insurance agent who's actually going to look at all those different policy endorsements to go, okay, yeah, do I have
literally for like $25 you can add sewer backup?
Yeah.
A year.
What about even code upgrade?
Yeah. Ordinance.
Code ordinance. And for you guys who are wondering, a house built in the 1930s or even the 1950s, they're not, the codes change.
Yeah.
Okay. But the cost to make that repair might require some modifications on the plumbing part, which are not covered because you don't have code upgrade or whatever it's called.
I've experienced that here in Gilbert.
Yeah.
Between land code on how you can decorate your house in an HOA situation and how you can't, and where the code gets grandfathered in. Nobody seems to know. You can make up the code, but you can't change the code. But you can add to the code. A lot of code.
A lot of code. Yeah.
Charity, this has been, we could talk about this all day, but this has been, I think, just a huge education moment, not only for myself, but everyone. There's so many nuggets in here as far as making decisions when it comes to plumbing, to long-term to short-term decisions, and how that would affect not only a homeowner, but a landlord or a tenant or anybody in between, the end user. And I think that you're a wealth of knowledge. There's a reason that you've got 200 plus Google reviews and 5 stars, and you're doing an amazing job. And I really appreciate you coming by today.
Well, thank you, Casey, for having me on Casey's Corner.
Yeah.
And everyone, if you need a plumber, you know a gal.
I know a gal.
You know a gal, okay? Charity's Plumbing Solutions. You will always see a picture of me pretty much in all the advertising. That's how you know it's the correct company, okay?
The correct charity. Charity Plumbing Solutions, I know a gal.
Yep.
Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
All right.
If you'd like to be featured on Casey's Corner, please reach out to me directly. Please like, subscribe, share this video. Have a great afternoon.